I call the member for Macarthur.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I rise today to pay tribute to a fine Australian who has been remembered as one of the great political healers of our time. Sir Zelman Cowen served for 4.5 years as Australia's 19th Governor-General from December 1977 to July 1982. He was described as a great dignified Australian after being handpicked in 1977 as a unifying figure to help heal the politics of the nation after the dismissal of the Whitlam government in 1975. Sir Zelman was appointed to the position of Governor-General by Malcolm Fraser in 1977. In his later years, he described the appointment as totally unexpected but the greatest experience of his life. The Sydney Morning Herald recently quoted Malcolm Fraser when he said that Sir Zelman restored Australia's faith in the office of Governor-General. Malcolm Fraser went on to say that Sir Zelman took over the position at a more difficult time than any other Governor-General and served in a role with great distinction. According to Fraser, Sir Zelman worked extremely hard to see as much as he could and talk to as many Australians as possible. Mr Deputy Speaker, I would like to give my condolences to Sir Zelman's wife Anna and their 4 children, Shimon, Nick, Kate and Ben, and his 16 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren. I'm sure that while they grieve the passing of a man they loved so much, they are also very proud of the contribution he made to our nation and the faith he restored in our political system. At his funeral, Sir Zelman's son Shimon said his dad rebuilt and healed a divided nation, and throughout his life constantly sought to work for consensus by modelling mutual respect and decent values. He said his dad was not philosophical, he was a doer and dedicated his life to humanity. Sir Zelman has been labelled the perfect choice for the post of Governor-General in 1977. He was a distinguished Australian with an international reputation in the fields of law and education. Between 1951 and 1966, he was a Dean of Law at the University of Melbourne. He was appointed the Vice-Chancellor of the University of New England in Armidale, New South Wales in 1966, and in 1970 he was appointed Vice-Chancellor of the University of Queensland in Brisbane. He was regarded by his peers as one of the leading constitutional lawyers in the English-speaking world. He won a Rhodes Scholarship in 1940 and decided to join the Royal Australian Navy. He was serving in Darwin in February 1942 during the Japanese air raids on Darwin and Northern Australia. Later in the war, he worked as a sub-lieutenant on the staff of General Douglas MacArthur. Sir Zelman was also a proud member of the Jewish community, and in 2003 he urged all Australians to show more compassion and generosity towards refugees. Even in retired life, he was setting a fine example for other Australians to follow. After his retirement, Sir Zelman pursued a range of other interests, including serving for 5 years on the board of Fairfax newspapers and being patron of the St Kilda Football Club. Sadly, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 1990. As a result, he lost his voice in recent years. At his funeral, Shimon said this gave his father a new view of life and spirituality. He said his dad responded to his condition without anger or irritation, was cast into an entire new modality of listening and receptivity. It's clear, Mr Deputy Speaker, that Sir Zelman was a great man, both in his public and private life. And whilst he gave so much to his country and humanity, I'm sure he gave a lot more to those who loved him the most, his family. Mr Deputy Speaker, I believe that Sir Zelman was a great leader in both the Australian and Jewish communities and someone that all politicians could aspire to today. He showed great humanity and dignity during his time in office and championed many important causes. He set a great example for all of us who serve our communities here in this place, and I believe this is one of the greatest legacies he has left behind. I'm proud to see so many of my colleagues pay tribute to Sir Zelman today. He was a great Australian who deserves the kind words which have been spoken about him. I only hope that his death will not be in vain and we all take the page from his book and continue to work hard to bring great integrity and dignity to the jobs which our communities have elected us to do. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Sir Zelman for his contribution to our nation and for the great legacy he has left behind for his children in this country. I'd also like to note, Mr Deputy Speaker, before I spoke today in this chamber, that the member for Kooyong sat through a number of my colleagues and listened to their speeches and condolences for Sir Zelman, and that Sir Zelman was a great mentor for the member for Kooyong. And when we see people like the member for Cowen come into this House, is a great shining light. I'm sure that Sir Zelman will be very, very proud of his performances, not only in this House of Reps, but within his communities. And I'm sure that we'd all would have liked to have had a great mentor like Sir Zelman. So I'm looking forward to watching the member for Cowen grow in this House and what he achieves for his community. And I know that the Australian people will be proud of such a person, the member for Cowen, and the way he performs his duties in this House. Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker.